my balls. Goosebumps is a brought to you by the letter G.
That's upside down.
For goddamn it, I don't even care. Welcome back to another episode of Reader Beware. My name is Keith Brooks. Sorry we've been away for a while. We've been crying and praying we would never have to do this show again. Night of the Living Dummy. I saw that zoom. That was nice. He walks. He stalks. Which sort of feels like there should be something else, because you always want to do like rules of thirds. And it'd be perfect just to go, he walks, he stalks, he talks. That's fine. It fucking rhymes. That's free marketing advice, R.L. Stein. He's no dummy. Lindy names the ventriloquist dummy she finds Slappy. Slappy is kind of ugly, but he's a lot of fun. Like me, ladies. Available. So it starts off, Lindy and Chris are twins. Which is cool. It's a cool, interesting story about twins. That's neat.
Are they 12?
And the house next door to them has suddenly been abandoned. Like, the people that moved there just got the fuck out. And now this construction team is coming and they're demolishing the house. And Chris and Lindy are, like, having fun, just, like, playing the fuck around. And it's a dark and stormy day when they're in this abandoned house that's being torn apart. When in the dumpster, all of a sudden, they find something. Lindy gets in there and she pulls out this, like, small child-looking thing, right? And Chris starts freaking the fuck out because she's like, oh my god, it's a dead little boy. And Lindy's like, no, you dummy. It's a dummy. And that's the first of 800 times that joke is said. Lindy pulls out this dummy that is in like a suit, nice dapper little suit. Looks like he's a vaudevillian entertainer from the 19-teens. And she names him Slappy. Lindy's showing her mom and dad the dummy that she had. Like, look how neat it is. She starts making it talk, starts telling jokes with it almost fucking instantaneously, and forms a really nice bond with this. That I imagine this is also the way, like, Jeff Dunham got started, you know what I mean? By finding a creepy, possessed doll in a dumpster outside of his house. I feel like I'm so upset about doing this Goosebumps thing that my entire body is shutting down. Because it's like, no, don't go back here. It's like when you're having an affair with a dirty woman that you don't want to be involved with, and you know it's bad for you because you know you're going to get hooked on the H train again. You know what I mean? You're going to be popping needles in your veins. That's what Goosebumps is like. It's like, I shouldn't stick my dick back in this dirty vagina because it's going to get me drug addicted. So Lindy starts forming this bond with her dummy, Slappy. She starts making this routine. Her parents think she's fucking genius. She's hilarious. She's the funniest girl in the world. But Chris in the background is getting upset because Lindy, her sister's getting all the attention. And fuck you, Chris thinks that she deserves attention too. Her dad goes to a pawn shop and gets her own dummy. She names the dummy Mr. Wood, which already lets you know that Lindy is the creative force within this twin sister combo. Like, I'm going to name this one Slappy. Yeah? Well, I'm going to name my dummy Mr. Wood. What's his first name? Dummy. Chris starts practicing with Mr. Wood. And Lindy is basically Mitch Hedberg compared to Chris's Carlos Mencia. Like, there's no comparison. Like, Lindy is a genius of Goosebumps comedy, where Chris should wear a helmet to school. So her sister, Lindy, starts booking all these local birthday parties. Everybody's really interested in her. And Chris is like, well, I'll do something too. So she approaches the school principal about the talent show. And then the school principal's like, yeah, you can do the talent show because we let everybody that's shitty perform at the talent show. That's kind of the nature of talent shows in general. And one day Lindy's like, oh, let me see Mr. Wood. I can show you a few tricks. So she grabs Mr. Wood. She starts manipulating him, starts doing the whole thing. And all of a sudden, Mr. Wood, you know, he's telling a couple jokes that Lindy's making him tell. Like, yeah, what did one guy say about it? You fucking cunt, you're gonna burn in hell. And then Lindy drops the dummy. And she's like, what the fuck just happened? And Lindy and Chris share a room together. And they always put Slappy and Mr. Wood in chairs side by side. She'll wake up in the morning and Slappy has extensively, like, had the shit beat out of him. And, like, all of his little dummy clothes are, like, torn off and shit like that. The neighbors come over to see a show, and they want to see Lindy and Chris both perform. So Lindy does her performance kills. She makes, like, a mill in the living room. Chris gets Mr. Wood, and she starts doing her whole routine. She's telling a couple shitty knock-knock jokes. It's knock on wood. They're dummies. fuck off. Mr. Wood is looking at the two elderly couple, the neighbors, and he's like, hey, you old bag of twat, what are you doing? And then everybody's freaked the fuck out. She gets yelled at. She gets sent to her room, thinking it's semi-normal, I guess. She thinks it will pass, which is not one of those things that pass. Like, if you have a pimple, you can leave that alone, and it'll pass. Like, it'll go away, right? If you're possessed by the devil, that's not sort of the thing you can sleep off. That night, she hears like this loud fucking clamor and noise downstairs. And she goes downstairs, and the refrigerator has just been fucking destroyed. And all of the food is broken and scattered across the floor. And all of her jewelry is just fucking scattered everywhere. And there's Mr. Wood sitting in the middle of it with this fucking grin on his face. And Lindy, her sister, and her mom like both run down the fucking stairs and are like, what the fuck is going on here? See, even the poltergeists were scared. You girls are gonna clean this up, and we're gonna throw away these fucking dummies. And then Lindy and Chris are like, we'll just clean it up. We'll clean it all up. You'll never know. Don't throw away our dummies. They spend all night fucking cleaning up the house, the kitchen. They go back upstairs to go to bed. Lindy starts laughing in her sleep. Or starts laughing before she goes to sleep. And Chris is like, why are you laughing? It was a miserable night. We had a horrible night. And Lindy's like, you should have seen the look on your face. And Chris is like, what? What are you talking about? And Lindy's like, I totally had you going. I totally had you believing that this dummy was possessed. It was Lindy all along faking it. Like, every time she heard noise, every time she fucked something up, it was just Lindy waking up a little bit earlier than her sister did and fucking up the dummies, right? Chris is trying to figure out how she's going to do revenge. What is she going to do? She starts looking at her dummy and then looks in the dummy's pants pocket and sees this little note. So she pulls out the note and starts reading it. It's Ade Due Adimbala. Kids, here's advice for you. If you ever find a manuscript in a language you don't understand, just try to read it really loud. Make sure there's some candles lit to give you the best reading capabilities. And in case you get thirsty, goat's blood. And all of a sudden the dummy like twitches a little bit. But she's thinking, like, maybe I just like moved it with my foot. Dummy? Mr. Wood. I don't know. Everybody in the story is a dummy. Gotcha. The next day, she has the performance at the talent show, this big assembly. She's the first act. Mr. Wood starts speaking for himself. He starts insulting the principal. He starts calling the teacher that introduced him really fat and doing all these vile things. And she's trying to control Mr. Wood. She's trying to make him stop, but she can't. He just keeps saying these dirty things and these naughty things. And then all of a sudden, he starts vomiting on everyone. So this green pea soup-like substance just goes all over the fucking front row. And she's appalled and she starts crying and she runs away from the assembly and her parents are like, we're totally gonna ground you. And she gets back to her room and throws the dummy down. And Mr. Wood comes to life and he's like, what the fuck you think you're doing, bitch? I'm the talent here. Oh my fucking God. And she's like, oh my God. And he's like, oh my God. So Mr. Wood and her are fighting and she throws Mr. Wood down the stairs. And her parents wake up because it's nighttime now. I'm sorry, I'm tired already. Parents come downstairs like, what the fuck are you doing? And Mr. Wood just like goes Toy Story, like, Andy's coming. She's like, I was fighting the dummy. And they're like, yeah, sure you were. We're gonna get you some psychiatric help. Then Lindy comes down and she's like, Chris, you really need to stop what you're doing. Look, I'm sorry I fucked with you. Your show was really weird. I don't know if it was some sort of avant-garde sort of thing. And then Mr. Wood comes back to life and grabs Chris's like foot and like pulls her down the fucking stairs. So the two sisters start fighting the dummy. And the entire time the dummy's like, you need to realize you're gonna be my slaves. This is the way it is written. You humans are gonna belong to me. This is the ancient curse. You woke me up, blah, 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 blah. So they put him in a box, take him across like to the house where they found Slappy, and they put him in the ground, bury him the fuck over, and they're like, fine, okay, we got rid of him. That's fantastic. They wake up a couple hours later, and the mom's like screaming at them. She's like, what did I tell you girls about leaving your stuff around? So they come downstairs, and there's Mr. Wood, like sitting on the kitchen counter, like all dirty. And the mom's like, well, since you're down here and I've yelled at you, I'm going to leave without any explanation. So she just walked the fuck out. So the next thing, Mr. Wood's like punching people and calling people bitches and you're my slaves now, blah, blah, blah. Somehow they get back across the street to the abandoned house and the construction team's still there and they throw Mr. Wood down and a bulldozer knocks the fuck out of him and just like takes him down, right? And the bulldozer guy gets out, and he's like, "Oh my god, I just ran over a fucking little kid!" And Chris and Lindy start laughing, and the bulldozer driver's like, "Did I run over a kid?" They walk into their room, and standing at the window is Slappy. And Slappy turns around, and he's like, "Hey, where'd my friend go? Wa-cha-cha-cha-cha." And then that's the end of the fucking book. Fuck this book, because the initial concept is that it's Lindy faking it, right? But there's a whole scene before the revelation of Lindy faking it where Chris is completely in control of the puppet when it loses its shit. When the neighbors come over, like, there's no fucking way Lindy could have faked that. That was Chris. Vaguely remembered from childhood, like, Slappy's the name that everybody knows. Like, everybody's like, yeah, Slappy from Not a Living Dummy. Slappy's not even, he's an evil dummy. Yes, well, maybe, I don't know. The end of this book, he's just loyal to his friend. But he's not the main villain. He's not the antagonist of this book. It's Mr. Wood. The poorly named Mr. Wood is actually the bad guy that we have. If I had to rate it, I'd probably give it, like, it was better than some of the others, so I'll give it 7 out of 10. But I would, like, I wouldn't even let it touch my dick. I would, like, let it go. Okay, so this represents my massive penis, right? And this is, like, the skin from which my penis emerges. Let's call that the tree trunk. I would let this book graze, like, right up against here. So it's getting a little bit of shaft, but for the most part, it's just on the pelvic region. You know what I mean? And it's not enough to make my penis, like, you know, it's just still sort of flaccid. It's still a hanging poster right here, just accommodating an itch. So remember, kids, use Goosebumps to scratch your balls.